Hello and welcome to today's live video. I am here with none other than Kat Donofrio, who is the Rebel Well coach, and she has blown my mind in some of the things that she has taught me. She really focuses on the 4 pillars of wellness, and she has been such a joy. She's been in my program for over a year, but just everything that I've learned from her. Sometimes some fun facts. I don't know if she'll share those with you today, but some of the facts have been really fun that she shared with me. So I want to give Kat the opportunity to introduce herself and tell you a little bit about how she can support the female entrepreneur. Thank you so much for being here, Kat.
No, thank you for having me. I'm really excited and honored that you would consider me to present in front of your audience here. So, as Chrissy mentioned, I'm Kat Donofrio, and I call myself the Rebel Well Coach. And basically, I am a certified nutrition coach and self-care educator. And as such, what I do is I guide women on your wellness journey to find the healthy, vibrant woman that's hiding under the stressed out, tired, people pleasing, emotionally drained uniform that you're used to wearing. And as a fellow entrepreneur, I know how difficult it is to focus on ourselves when we are focused on our business and trying to help that grow. And then we still are wives and mothers and potentially caretakers of other family members. And in some cases, like myself, we also have a quote unquote job, whether it be part-time, full-time, whatever. So we're juggling a lot of balls, right? And it's hard to keep them all in the air. And what usually falls to the floor first is our own self-care, right? Because we put ourselves last on our to-do list. It's inherent as women and again as business owners and having so many things to do. We'll take care of ourselves later. But what I want to ask you today is, where are you on your to-do list? And I ask this because, are we really doing a disservice to ourselves, to our businesses, to the people that we love and care about if we're not taking proper care of ourselves, if we are not eating well, if we're not getting enough movement, if we're not managing our stress, and if we are not getting enough sleep? Because then we're not at our best. And if we're not at our best, we can't give our best to anyone, right? So we really need to make sure we are putting ourselves higher on our own to-do list, making sure we're carving out the time that we need to make sure that we have the energy we need to get ish done, right? So what I want to do, and Chrissy alluded to that, I kind of focus on what I call the 4 pillars of wellness. And what I want to do today really is focus a little bit on 2 key pillars with you, and talk about how we can practice a little bit of self-care in those areas. And when I say self-care, I know you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, that I just feel selfish. I feel like I'm being self-indulgent if I practice any sort of self-care. I feel guilty for it, or I just don't have the time or the money to do it, right? But when we think about self-care, the true definition is taking care of your needs in order to maintain good health. It's not necessarily about spa visits and massages and manis and pedis, although those are fun, great things. And yes, they are forms of self-care, but those aren't necessarily critical. There are everyday small things that we can do. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. The fact that self-care is really more foundational. It's about how you eat, drink, how much sleep you get, how you manage your daily stress. We don't think about these simple things as self-care, but they are absolutely essential to feeling and being our best. So a lot of you, I'm sure, are probably moms. So maybe you can relate to this. Have you ever experienced the tired toddler in your family? Maybe this sounds familiar. It's the end of a family function. It's been a wild and wonderful day for your kids. They ran, they played hard, they probably had more than their share of sugary desserts. But what they did not do was stop the fun long enough to eat well, and they didn't get a nap. So you're getting ready to go home. You've got them in the car. They're all buckled in to their car seat, and the meltdowns commence, right? They didn't melt down because they were spoiled and thought it would get them what they want. They weren't trying to manipulate you. They just couldn't do anything else in that moment. Their bodies weren't functioning properly. This meant that they couldn't manage their emotions. And those emotions were intense, right? Well, as adults, the same thing happens to us, just maybe not, or hopefully not as drastic. Our bodies can't function properly when we deprive them of what I call the 4 pillars of wellness, and that's proper nutrition, proper movement, stress management, and sleep. These things are all critical. It means we don't feel our best if we're not managing well in those areas. We don't make the best decisions necessarily, and we definitely don't feel our best. So we see effects from that of things like lack of energy. We may be a little bit more irritable and quicker to snap than usual. We may have some brain fog. We don't think clearly. We don't think as quickly or efficiently. So this is where self-care starts, at the basics. So I'm going to speak today about 2 of those areas. We're going to talk a little bit about stress management and sleep. And those are 2 big areas that I think as entrepreneurs in particular, we tend not to focus much, if at all. So when you're under stress, how do you respond to that stress? Are you one who tends to eat to calm down, otherwise known as stress eating? Do you speak and eat very quickly? Do you drink alcohol or smoke? Do you rush around but don't seem to be getting much done? Are you one that when you're stressed that maybe you work too much? Do you procrastinate and put things off until the very last minute? As a stressed out person, do you sleep too little or maybe too much? Do you try to do too many things at once because you're trying to get through that to-do list, right? Well, if you're engaging in even one of those behaviors as a way to manage your stress, it might mean that you're not dealing with stress as well as you could be. And a lot of us are guilty of that, including myself. Just look back to the first few months of the pandemic. And granted, that's a couple of years ago now, but if you can think back that far, alcohol sales went through the roof. People were self-medicating as opposed to really dealing with their stress.
Mm-hmm.
But there is some good news. We can adopt a few simple things, a few simple self-care activities that will really make a huge difference in being able to better manage your stressors and reduce the negative effects. So I know, but we're all busy entrepreneurs. How are we going to fit one more thing into our day? Well, that's why I'm going to stick to simple, easy to implement, and things that don't require you to carve out a large amount of time. They don't cost much, if any money whatsoever, and they're things that you truly can fit into your already busy active schedule. So let's talk about a few of those. The first stress busting activity that I really love is to practice gratitude or celebrate your accomplishments. Now, as entrepreneurs, we have a lot on our plates, right? A lot on our to-do list. And it's easy for us to spend most of our time focusing on what we're not getting done, right? At the end of the day, we're overly focused on all of those things that we didn't check off our to-do list and starting to feel stressed about, oh, these are just 1 or 5 or 10 more things that I have to add to my plate tomorrow, right? And in turn, that makes us feel bad. That makes us feel really stressed and tense. So what if instead you took a few minutes at the end of your day to look back at all the things you did accomplish. Look at all the things you did check off your to-do list. Think about the things that you got done that weren't even on your to-do list. They were just things that came up out of nowhere that you had to deal with, and you were able to accomplish those. Think about those things. Pat yourself on the back for each one of those things that you did accomplish in your day. And once you've done that, okay, then turn to the things that maybe you didn't cross off. And instead of beating yourself up, simply look at them objectively and say, okay, these things didn't get done. Can I add them to my plate tomorrow? If I didn't get them done today, do they really still need to get done? And maybe you can cross them off altogether and not even have to do them. So it's just a slightly different way of looking at things. And when it comes to practicing gratitude, maybe take some time at the end of your day and come up with just 1 to 3 things that you're really grateful for, excuse me, that happened in your day. And even better, create a gratitude journal and write those things down. The act of doing that is going to make you feel good in the moment. And an extra bonus of writing things down in a gratitude journal is that on those future days when you are having a really rough day and you don't think you can find anything to be grateful for, go back and read past entries. And that will remind you of some of those things that you really can be grateful for. And that's going to give you that, maybe that little lift that you need to get through that difficult day. So another simple activity is meditation. I try to practice meditation at some point every day. I mostly myself do it at the end of the day before I go to sleep. But sometimes I'll do it in the morning. I might even do it midday. And for those of you who have never meditated, and I was like this before I'd ever tried it, you might be thinking, oh, I don't have time to take an hour out of my day to meditate. I can't possibly sit still long enough to meditate and even forget trying to clear my mind and empty it. Those were kind of the things I thought about meditation before I ever tried it myself. But truly, it's not about really any of those things. Meditation can take as little as 3 to 5 minutes if that's all the time you have. Ideally, a lot of people do try to sit quietly, but did you know there's such a thing as a walking meditation? And thirdly, it isn't necessarily about trying to completely empty your mind. It really is more about just focusing and being more mindful about your breath at that time. It's more about focusing on the in-breath and the out-breath and just taking a few minutes to do that and realizing that, yes, the other thoughts will come, but you don't have to focus on those thoughts for those few minutes. Just acknowledge that they're there and kind of imagine them floating on by like a cloud floating by in the sky. And then return your focus to your breath. Not that other things aren't happening, but you're focusing on one thing just for those few minutes and see how that makes you feel. Now, other things that are kind of related to meditation that are great for relaxing your mind and body are things like yoga and prayer. So anything that you enjoy like that. All right, third stress busting activity is exercise. And yes, normally when we think of exercise, we think of taking an hour or maybe even more, going to the gym and working out, or going for a 30-minute run or something like that. But really, exercise, or what I prefer to just call movement, is anything that's going to get your blood moving a little bit, maybe get your heart pumping just a little bit more. And again, it's something you really can do. If you only have 10 minutes, great. Take 10 minutes, walk around the block. Take 10 minutes, do a few stretches to kind of stretch out those muscles and relax some of that tension that a lot of us experience, especially if we're entrepreneurs like I am that spend a lot of time behind a computer. Fourth item I think we're up to is to unplug. And again, I know as entrepreneurs, that's probably a really hard one for us. We always want to be, out there being visible. We always want to make sure that we're checking our messages and we're getting back with our clients and all of the things, right? But it really is important in order to be able to escape stress a little bit, is to take, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes, and just walk away from all the electronics, stay away from the TV, and just be present in the moment. Have a one-on-one conversation with somebody. Again, go out and take that walk, get that 10 minutes of exercise. Whatever it is, just take that little bit of time to escape from the world, even if it's only for a few minutes a day. And really, when it comes to managing our stress, it's just finding simple things that you enjoy and can fit into your current lifestyle, your current schedule. And it can be something as simple as taking a warm bath, maybe listening to some music that you really enjoy and that relaxes you. Or if you have the time, taking some time for one of your favorite hobbies. Now, I want to turn to some more unexpected distressing tips, things that you wouldn't necessarily think about as self-care or ways to de-stress. But the first one of those, and again, this one might be a little bit more time intensive, but volunteering is an excellent way to de-stress. Granted, when we volunteer, we're, helping somebody else out and we're making them feel better or making their life easier, but it can boost our own well-being. I mean, think about the last time that you just helped somebody, with a friend or a loved one, with something that they were struggling with, and how good that felt that you were able to offer and provide that help. That sense of euphoria you can feel anytime you volunteer. And again, it's a double win because you feel good about doing it and you're making somebody else feel good too. Now, the next one of an unexpected de-stressing tip is washing dishes. And no, this isn't a trick to get you to do more chores, I promise. I know it sounds like it. But mindfully, and again, a lot of what I teach my clients when I work with them is being mindful about what they're doing. So if you hand washed a few dishes and you did it mindfully, so not thinking about those 10 things on your to-do list you didn't get done that day, but focusing on all of your senses, focusing on the smell of the soap that you're using, the warmth of the water that you're washing the dishes with, the feel of the dishes themselves. Focus some attention on the present, the active actions that you're doing right then and there when you're washing the dishes. They've actually done studies on this. Surprise, surprise. They've done studies on everything, right? But it has been reported that mindfully washing dishes can decrease nervousness by 27%. That's huge. And they also say it increases mental inspiration by 25%. So maybe the next time you're stressed or you're having trouble working through an issue that you're having within your business, instead of killing yourself trying to come up with those answers, maybe you just need to go give your dishwasher a break and hand wash a few dishes. Another thing, and we're coming into spring now in Ohio, and it's getting warmer. And one of my favorite activities and a great distressing tool is gardening. Now, I don't know about you ladies, but I was a tomboy as a kid. I loved playing and digging in the dirt. And as an adult, I still do. There is nothing like getting your hands in the dirt, getting dirt under your fingernails, to just de-stress you. It's almost like a mindless activity, right? You don't have to think too terribly hard about it. But again, gardening has been shown as an activity that actually will calm your mind on many levels and provides overall relaxation. And then my next distressing tip is a fun one, and that's hugs. Who doesn't love a good hug? It has been shown that a hug can reduce stress. It actually lowers your blood pressure and improves your attitude. It boosts your feel-good endorphins, right? Um, and they say hugs by a loved one actually increases your level of oxytocin, which is a hormone that it is shown to alleviate stress. So if you feel like you need a hug, and hey, if nobody else is around, you can always give yourself one. And yes, you'll get some of those same benefits by giving yourself a big old bear hug. Now, I'd like to walk you through, before we go into the next topic, a little exercise. So one of the things that I work a lot with my clients on is using breathing exercises as well to help relieve stress. So again, breathing is something we do every day. It's something doesn't cost any money. We can do it anywhere, anytime. So by going through some simple breathing exercises, it can help you reduce your stress and tension. It can help bring down your heart rate and your overall blood pressure. So it's great if you can learn a couple of breathing techniques to kind of have in your back pocket when you are feeling your stress levels rise. And so what I want to do, since you're here and you're probably sitting down anyway, is take you through a very quick breathing exercise. And this is called the Be Your Breath exercise. So first of all, I just want you to get comfortable, take a normal breath. And then I want you on your next breath to take a nice deep breath in slowly through your nose. I want you to fill up your chest and your belly full of air as you breathe in. Really puff that belly out. And then I want you to breathe that out slowly as well, through your mouth or nose, either one, it doesn't matter. And then on your next breath, I want you to try to breathe into a count of 5. So really lengthen that breath going in. And then on the exhale, that same thing, count to 5 on the exhale. So you're really lengthening both your inhale and your exhale equally. And now I want you to do that 3 more times, and I'm going to help you count. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now how do you feel? I imagine maybe you feel a little less tense, the shoulders and neck feel a little bit more relaxed. Maybe if you were feeling a little stressed and your heartbeat might have been a little faster than usual, you might notice that has slowed down just a little bit. But try that the next time that you are having a difficult situation. And so now I want to turn our attention to another topic quickly here, and that is sleep. It's kind of hard to talk about stress and not also talk about sleep, because these two really have a big impact on each other. If you'll notice, when you're really stressed, you tend to have trouble sleeping. And then when you have trouble sleeping, that stresses you out. And then it becomes a cycle. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, right? More stress, less sleep, more stress. So we need to break that cycle. And don't worry, you're not alone. Studies show that 67% of Americans say that they have trouble sleeping on a regular basis. So if you think about it, the majority of us on this live or the recording, are walking zombies, basically. So let's see what we can do about that. And as entrepreneurs, one of the first things we give up when we're really busy tends to be our sleep, right? I know there was a time when I used to say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And now I cringe at the fact that I used to say that. But I did. I used to think stress or sleep wasn't all that important. I know better now. So, first things first, why can't you sleep? So, if you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, if you feel that you need caffeine to get you through your day, or you have trouble falling asleep at night, we need to revisit our bedtime routine. So, again, I'm going to give you a little exercise that you can take away and work on later. That'll basically will identify the habits that are keeping you awake and then help you identify some simple changes that you can make to help you sleep better in the future. So first of all, we're going to start with the identification piece. So what's getting in the way of our good night's sleep? So we need to look at some key areas. First of all, think about what happens when you can't sleep. So is it that you're having trouble falling asleep to begin with? Are you falling asleep and then waking up? Maybe you toss and turn a lot, so you're just not getting a good night's sleep. But think about what is happening. The second piece of identification of your issues is what's your sleep environment like? Is it dark and quiet enough in the room where you're sleeping? Is the room temperature comfortable? Are you too hot? Are you too cold? Are there things on or around your bed? Are you sleeping with your phone next to your head? Do you keep the laptop laying on top of the covers? What are those conditions like? And then thirdly, what are your bedtime habits that may be resulting in poor sleep? Do you have a regular bedtime, or are you going to bed at all different times depending on what that day's to-dos look like? Are you going to bed maybe too early? And as entrepreneurs, that's probably not it. I know. Are you taking your digital devices to bed with you? Are you sitting with your laptop or your phone and doing things on those devices right before you're trying to go to sleep? So are there other overstimulating things within your bedroom that are contributing to poor sleep? Another one of those would be the TV. And are you trying to fall asleep with the TV on? Excuse me. So sit and take some time, maybe later today, and think about those things and jot down your answers. And then once you've done that, you can start looking at what little things can I change? Where can I tweak and maybe implement some different habits that can help me take steps forward in getting that better night's sleep? And just remember, new habits don't happen overnight. But if you set some intentions and try to work on them regularly, eventually those changes will become just part of your normal everyday habits. So, first of all, controlling your environment. It really is important to set a regular bedtime. You should roughly every night be going to sleep around the same time, give or take 30 minutes or so. And trying to go to sleep consistency. And that's whether it's a weeknight, a weekend, whatever. But try to be consistent about what time you're going to bed and getting up each and every day. Make your bed a sleep-only one. No phones or laptops. You can make that a new rule that 1 hour or at minimum a half hour before you go to bed, that all electronics are put away, preferably somewhere outside of the bedroom. Another thing environment-wise is keep your room dark. If you need to, use blackout shades, dim any electronics that might be in the room. A lot of those emit some sort of lights even when they're off. So try to keep those outside of your line of sight. Another thing to do is looking at your routine. So if you're greatly affected by caffeine, cut that off by late afternoon or maybe even by noon. You want to avoid rigorous exercise immediately before bedtime. Vigorous exercise is good, but you want to do that earlier in the day so that you have time to wind down before you go to bed. Avoid eating before bed. The actual digestive processes that our bodies go through when we eat if you eat too late in the evening, those digestive processes alone can keep you awake at night or keep you from getting a good night's sleep. Fight after dinner drowsiness by trying to keep yourself active until it's time for bed. If you have a habit of falling asleep in front of the TV or whatever in the evening, and then you try to wake up and get up and go to bed and go back to sleep, that can be really difficult. That was a habit I used to have, and it did not end well. So I've given that up and try to keep myself active. Start your bedtime routine about 30 to 45 minutes before you're actually wanting to go to sleep. So that is things like setting aside the electronics. Maybe that's a good time to journal those things you're grateful for from that day, or writing down what you accomplished that day. That might be a good time to read, again, not from an electronic device, but an actual book or magazine. It's a good time to do some light stretching or some real gentle yoga moves, again, to help you relax into sleep. So just things, again, that are relaxing activities that help you with that whole wind down process. And lastly, use your mind to help you fall and stay asleep. So again, I mentioned journaling. So maybe write your thoughts for the day in a journal. If you have, especially if you have a lot of thoughts at the end of the day, a lot of things that came up that you're still thinking about, to-dos for the next day or whatever, if you write those down on a piece of paper and then set that piece of paper or journal aside, that helps tell your mind that those thoughts, those things that you need to do are taken care of, they're in a safe place, and your mind can relax. Maybe find a mantra or a word that calms you and focus on that as you fall asleep. And lastly, maybe engage in some mindful sleep meditation. There are lots of great apps out there. If you need any recommendations, Calm is one app, Headspace is another, and my personal favorite that I use a lot is Insight Timer. So if you need some guided meditations to use in the future. So anyways, if you even take 2 or 3 of some of the things that I mentioned, or if that spurred other ideas for you, and start to implement those, that will greatly go a long way in helping you to get the 7 to 9 hours sleep that 90% of us need on a regular basis. So that's it for me. I hope you got something good out of this.
I have lots of questions.
Okay.
Do you have time? Do you have time?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So I have obviously been in your container for a while. I've followed you for a really long time. So I've heard you say several different things. So the first thing that you said that actually I had no idea is that when you don't get the required amount of sleep, you actually can't make that up with a nap. However, what if you really need the nap? Should you still take the nap?
Oh, absolutely. And napping too, you want to keep it to like a 20 to 30 minute, like quote unquote cat nap. So you don't want to like nap for 2 hours in the middle of the afternoon and then expect that you're going to go to bed at your normal bedtime and get a good night's sleep. But
Right.
if you truly like have had a night or a couple of nights where you haven't slept well, and you know you haven't gotten your 7 to 9, and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you can't keep your eyes open. Yeah, absolutely listen to your body. Your body is telling you, you know what? I need a break. And maybe you don't even fall asleep. Maybe you just need to like just go lay quietly somewhere and just close your eyes for that 20, 30 minutes. And that's all you need to rejuvenate yourself. But yeah, and again, I would try not to nap for more than 30, 45 minutes because you don't want to completely throw your cycle off. But yeah, absolutely take that nap. I mean, I've been known to take a nap or two here and there. It's not a regular thing. But yeah, that's absolutely fine.
I think a 20-minute power nap is like the best thing in the world. Like I
It
can
is.
get into such a deep sleep in 20 minutes that I'm drooling.
Yeah.
TMI for everybody, sorry. But you know that that's good sleep when you're drooling. I'm just saying.
Yes, it absolutely is.
So, my next question is you mentioned when you're in stress to wash the dishes. Now, is this the same thing as stress cleaning? Because I know a lot of people, self included,
Mhm.
stress clean. Like when things are very stressful and it's like the clutter or something else is bothering you too. And at least if you get that out of the way, it almost feels like, huh, I feel a little bit better now.
There's definitely something to the whole concept that clutter in your physical space has an impact on you mentally and emotionally. So yes, that is a little that is a thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And anytime you feel the need to clean, you're welcome to come to my house because I don't particularly have that stress cleaning problem. But but yeah, it's a thing. And yeah, and especially if you feel like your house is dirty or cluttered, it's almost like that physical clutter like encroaches on you personally and like I said, emotionally and mentally. So yeah, if you can clear that away physically, it will definitely be a help in other areas as well.
Yes. I don't normally clean, but when I'm stressed for some reason, I will. Or if I know somebody's coming over and I have a half an hour. It's amazing what you can get done if you set a timer on anything.
Isn't it?
So,
Yes.
one of the things that obviously I go to the gym and I love the gym and I love that what you said about movement, it's not what you think. Number one, I never wanted to lift weights. That was never something in my mind. And I started doing it and I fell in love with it. But I also love a walk where I can
Mhm.
literally not talk to anybody and my device is in my pocket. So maybe I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to music and I can just literally, all I focus on is beating my speed from the last time that I walked, right? Even if it's by
Mhm.
0.0001, right? By beating my speed, like I focus on that or just to get away because as an introvert, you know, my husband works from home, my kids home this week when spring break. So just even getting out and getting away, it just
Right.
feels like, I don't know, it feels like cleansing or that feels like my meditation, I guess we could say, because it's just getting
I
away
was
from everyone.
I was just gonna say, because I know you've mentioned that you've never thought you're someone who could meditate,
Hmm.
but you're kind of doing a form of walking meditation when you're
Yeah.
doing that. So
Yeah.
you're a meditator and don't even know it.
I know. I know. I did meditate at the event you had though, so that was really
That's
cool.
right.
That felt
Yeah.
actually easy. I think the thing with meditation is I feel like I use this analogy a lot, but it's kind of like when COVID hit and they said, don't scratch your face and don't touch your
Yes.
face when you're in the grocery store. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm itching, like everything's like itching. I can't not
Mhm.
touch it. But it's the same thing with meditation. I think I have to be still. So therefore, my body wants to move and fidget and move around. And I think if we can just let go of, you have to like not move,
Yes.
right? Not blink your eyes, not breathe. If we let go of that and know that you can actually have some movement during that, it's
Mhm.
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Okay. So the other thing that you said, which I have been doing for a little over a year, is like you were talking about the entrepreneur, and I personally believe as having been the person who put myself last and my business first
We
and
all
moved
have.
recently to putting myself first and my business, right? I work on my business, but I'm first, right? My self-care is first and it's priority. I have noticed a very big energy change in me. Not only that I have more energy, but that I can show up with more energy, that I'm attracting more people. The confidence came, right? Because when we feel good, we feel confident, right? When we
Right.
feel like we're getting enough sleep, when we're not as stressed, when we're drinking enough water, when we're doing all the things that you tell us to do, we show up in a better energy capacity. And I don't even know if that's right grammar, but like we show up differently. And I love as an entrepreneur, especially as somebody I'm telling to get, I'm visible and I'm telling others to get visible. When we have all of that combined, it is possible to literally have it all, like get healthy, get enough sleep, do the things you're supposed to do, and grow a big business. And I think that was always in my mind. I'll get healthy later. I'll
Right.
do that later. I'll do that when I have more money. And the sad thing is that I kept writing down my goal list in 10 years and I kept saying, none of this is going to happen. If I don't take care of my health, none of this
Right.
matters. None of this matters. And I think if you can put that into perspective, it helps you so much, but you can be healthy and grow a big business. It's not I have to choose right now. You can technically actually have both.
Yes. I couldn't have said it better myself. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And that's
Exclamation,
comforting.
exclamation.
Yes, yes, and that's so comforting. So, anyhow, you have some things coming up, and I would love you to share them with my audience.
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to invite anybody, if what we talked about today is something that you've found useful, interesting, you'd like more, I do have a private Facebook group, and it's called Living Life Perfectly Imperfectly. And I just basically share information on pretty much a daily basis, all around different ways to stay well and be healthy. So, and it's things around my 4 pillars of wellness. So you'll get information on eating healthy, you'll get information on getting the right amount and types of movement and exercise in your life, lots on stress management, as well as sleep practices. And I throw in a lot of mindset and mindfulness work as well in all of that. So, again, if you're interested, I would love to have you in the group, Living Life Perfectly Imperfectly. And if what we've talked about today has got you thinking more about your health and wellness and wanting to implement some more healthy behaviors into your current lifestyle, I do offer a free 2 week wellness audit or wellness assessment, where basically I have a checklist of activities related to each of the 4 wellness pillars. And I simply ask you to use that checklist and track, not necessarily to change anything, but just to track what you're doing on a daily basis for 2 weeks, against that checklist. Turn that into me, and I will review that and then give you 1 or 2 action steps that you can take in kickstarting your healthier habits journey.
I love that. I love that. And how easy is that? Like literally just reach out to Kat and say,
Yes,
"Can I have this?" Right? And then you just have to turn it back in. So it's kind of like a little bit of accountability there, right? Because
absolutely.
they don't get responses until they track it for 2 weeks.
That's right. Yes.
I think sometimes too when we track things like that, we actually it opens our eyes too to see, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. So yeah,
Yeah, like it's like we a lot of times we think we're doing okay in an area, but then when we really sit down and look back on, okay, what did I do today or what did I do yesterday? It's like, oh, I kind of missed that, or oh, I didn't quite get that done, or yeah. So it's definitely eye-opening.
I love that. I love that. So I have a question that, I ask every time somebody does an interview with me, and that is, what has visibility done for you?
So what it's done for me is really it's getting me out there. It's pushing me to stretch myself outside my comfort zone, which we all know that growth doesn't happen until we push outside of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
Um, and you and the visible group have really helped me do that. I mean, it's helped me be more comfortable with doing things like this. I mean, there was a time if you had asked me to come on here and get in front of your audience, I would have been like, oh, hell no. And I would have had 1,000 excuses for why I couldn't do it. And this time I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Why not? Am I a little nervous? Well, yeah, of course, but isn't everybody? I mean, but it's just pushing through that and thinking about the bigger picture. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we wanting to get in front of audiences and share our businesses? And it's because we want to help people, and we can't help people unless people know we exist, unless they know what it is we can offer. And I mean, we can write that down, but that doesn't bring across our own personalities and who we are. And really, when people come to work with you, it's because of who you are, because
Mhm.
something about you resonates with them. And it's so much harder to get that across in written word as opposed to something like this and coming on and being on video. So
So true. So true. I'm glad you said the uncomfortable thing. You know, that's like my love language when
It's near
people
and
like
dear to
get
your heart.
uncomfortable.
Yes. You love making us uncomfortable.
And you can get uncomfortable with your health too. Like, let's be honest, like,
Yes.
sometimes even getting enough water is uncomfortable. We go to the bathroom more. So until we get used to it, it's an uncomfortable
Mhm.
thing. But that is growth too. It's not just, the part of growing the business. Like, even like getting healthy over the last year has really stretched me, right? There are moments I wanted to quit there, but I didn't, and I kept going. And I feel like it's such a lesson in your health that you can use in your business, because if you can
Right.
do things with your health, and it's that compound effect, right? It's doing the little things every single day that
Right.
add up over time, that make you feel like $1,000,000, and you realize, wait a minute, if I can do this in my own life with my health, I can do this with my business too. And so it's such a correlation and analogy for entrepreneurs, and shows them that things are possible. And that's, I think, what I love most about getting healthy and taking care of yourself, because it shows you what's possible with time, with consistency, doing the little things day in, day out that we think don't add up and we don't get instant gratification on. It does matter, and it does show up big in our life at some point once we are consistent with it.
Absolutely. That's so true.
All right. Anything else you would like to leave my audience with before we go?
No, I don't think so. Again, I hope that if you're watching this, if you even got one or two small nuggets, again, small changes lead to big results. So even if you only implement one or two things, then it was totally worth it for me to be uncomfortable and come on here.
Absolutely. So, if you're watching this live or watching on the replay, make sure you drop your questions. Kat will be coming in and checking those and answering those. If you have a friend who you would love to do this with, things are always more fun together, especially if you keep each other accountable for the free 2-week audit that she'll do for you. So you could keep each other accountable on that, and then maybe implement the changes together. So there's a lot of fun things that you can do when you do this with someone. So make sure you tag a friend or share this with a friend as well, because that will help support them too. And we're always stronger together. So, Kat, thank you so much. We're going to drop all the links and all the information, and I'll tag Kat in this. And make sure you reach out to her if you want to connect, or you want access to that 2-week audit. Thank you so much, Kat. I appreciate you.
Thank you
And
for having me.
we'll be back again, I'm sure. So, thank you.
Great. Thanks.